Now it's recording. All I need is 2 more cameras and I can pretend to be a motor vehicle vlogger. Sure. Whatever floats your boat.
I found out what that expression actually means and I've found never to use it.
What?
Whatever floats your boat.
Really?
I look it up.
You tell me.
No, it's too vulgar.
Really?
Yeah.
Like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
What's this kid doing?
yes. After school, he's probably walking home.
Yeah, but he kept glancing in our direction and eyeing us in a very suspicious manner.
Where's he going? Are we following him or not? I would have chucked a left here.
I'll have to trust the both of you because this is not my territory. I don't know it. Oh, how are things at Dubbo?
Not bad. No, he's going left.
Did he switch indicators?
He did.
Right, I was wondering what was going on. Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Sebastian Salpers and Batty. We are heading from Bathurst to Dubbo.
Yeah, so tomorrow morning, I've got to take Dad shopping.
Right.
I'll drop him off at Aldi, then go back an hour later and pick him up. As he can't drive anymore, and Mum can't drive anymore.
No.
They're both basically stuck in the house.
No, I don't think it would be very safe for Robert to drive.
No. And Dad got a blood clot in one of the arteries in his retina, and it made him go blind in one eye.
Oh no.
So he can still see all right out of the other eye, but he's got no depth perception.
Yeah.
Which you need if you're driving.
Well, tell me about it. That's one of the reasons I've never applied for a driver's license, because I have very poor depth perception. Something that became all too evident one day when I was crossing a road, I think it was in Maitland, and I saw a motorbike which I thought was off in the distance. And just as I reached the centre point, right behind me, and I thought, oh, that was a lot closer than I thought.
Yeah.
Either that or he was doing half the speed of light. Which, given it was Maitland, he could have been.
Maitland, is that where the speed limits are just a suggestion?
Probably. They should write underneath the speed limit signs, serving suggestion.
Yes. That's the problem. Speed limits are your maximum speed, not a minimum.
Yes.
And too many cars treat them like a minimum.
My favourite of that was from the Wits Dictionary. A freeway. Oh my god, it's actual tractors.
Yeah, well, you're in the bush now.
A freeway is a place where drivers under 20 do over 90 and drivers over 90 do under 20.
In England, where the Eurostar comes out of the ground and heads towards London, they had to. It runs beside a motorway for quite a while.
I think I've heard this. Yes.
And they had to put up fences so you couldn't see through because all the idiots in their fast cars were trying to beat the trains.
Well, the same thing happened when they were trialling the XPT. The police set up mobile speed traps along the places where the road rental on the track because they were catching a lot of people trying to race the train.
Yeah, because people are stupid.
Well, at least one of those stupid people is in the Kalorian Lounge. Have you told Pete the story of that guy?
No, not yet.
Alright.
I haven't built a chlorine lounge in my current oxygen not included base.
What's his, Stripes likes, what do you call it, resource gathering games, but he hasn't heard of Factorio, so I'm going to introduce him to that.
Oh, he's going to be
addicted, yes.
Addicted.
Oh, is this another air raid shelter over here?
Once upon a time it belonged to the army, and now that was many years ago. It's been privately owned ever since I've known it.
Now there's this story about that. Gentleman bought a decommissioned firehouse and set it up as his home, and then got served with a notice by the council that he was violating zoning regulations or something because he was using a fire station as a home. And
if it's decommissioned, I can't see what the problem is.
Neither did he. I forget how that ended.
Because when they decommissioned the fire station in the middle of Dubbo, it's been a cafe and a restaurant and private residence and all sorts of things recently.
But no paranormal investigators?
No paranormal. No, we don't have a Dubbo paranormal.
There's probably plenty of people in Dubbo who believe their homes are haunted though.
Dubbo's not old enough to have haunts.
How old is Dubbo? It must be over 100 years old.
Yeah, 1850s, 1820s when they first moved in.
Bathurst Golf Club.
Where did Stripe say he was going?
I didn't actually hear where he said he was going. He
was going to Orange, or
he mentioned Orange, but I don't know what his actual destination was. So yes, we'll probably be following him all the way to Orange.
That's right. There's so much roadworks on the road.
I was going to say, we got slowed down all over the place. I think we went through 5 different sets of roadworks where they'd reduced travel to single lanes, so we had to sit and wait for ages. We also got stuck behind 3 slow vehicles, a cement truck,
must be turning there.
Yeah, a garbage truck, and
he's off.
All right,
and we're off.
There's a cement truck, a garbage truck, and a water tanker. That was the other one. Yeah. We seem to be drawing the short straw everywhere.
Well, as we head out, the roadworks start almost as soon as we hit the edge of town here, and then until the end of Orange.
Did that say snow sign?
Yeah.
Snow?
Yeah.
How far above sea level are we?
Nearly 2,000 metres, I think.
Oh, that's right.
Dubbo's 1,500 metres, I think. Dubbo's 300 metres. Yeah, they get snow here, especially up in the...
Yeah, well, 2 kilometres above sea level, I can understand that.
Orange gets snow.
Lake Eyre, I believe, is supposed to be below sea level, isn't it?
It is. It's about 37 metres or something.
It's a testament to how much sunlight they get out there, that it only floods once every generation or so. Ooh, llama or alpaca or whatever.
Speed limit says 100, but that's not going to last long.
Well, if we want to get back and avoid hitting any kangaroos along the way, then I don't mind going a little bit quickly. Although, to be perfectly honest, I am just very glad to be in a comfortable car.
Yeah, the old minibuses are alright, but they're a bit rough.
It was very rough, it was very rattly. It was quite warm. I get the impression that Stripes has a higher comfort temperature than I do. Although I met his mother there. He stopped at his place to pick his mother up and drop her off at the shops. She prefers the cold as well. But the big problem was that whenever that van reached cruising speed, there was a loud noise from somewhere in the differential, which...
like a whine?
Yeah, no, a very loud whine.
Yeah.
Not good.
Sounds like needs a bit of work on his diff. Or an oil change in there.
It gets quite a lot of work, that van, because he uses that to take the ferries up to Furdu.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He previously owned one of the old suburban buses, the Mercedes type.
Oh yeah.
Which he was expecting to be able to use to convey ferries from Sydney to the different conventions. Then he found out it was speed limited to 70 kilometres an hour.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which was a pity. Patch out there. Do they grow crops in this region?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought it'd be mostly livestock around here.
They're probably getting their winter feed in.
Oh, of course, it's crops for livestock.
Yeah. The other thing is that it's been so dry, there's almost no grassy ground cover left. So what you're seeing is effectively just grass growing. But that's a crop there, yeah.
Take a break to Amazing Forbes.
It's amazing anyone would want to go to Forbes.
I was going to say, is there anything there?
No.
Sheep, sheep, sheep.
They've got a plane on a stick in a park. You have to go through Parks to get there.
And Parks is much more interesting.
Parks has got the radio telescope.
That's right. Rocks Creek? Someone had no imagination. Not unless their surname was Rocks.
Yeah, I don't know. It's serious lack of imagination with a lot of names in this western area.
Back Swamp Road. I was hoping it said Black Swamp Road. That would have been more interesting. Remember that video you made walking into the backyard, looking up at the sky and seeing a solitary cloud and saying, oh.
Yes.
I told Stripes about that. Who was your friend who replied to the video?
That was She lives in Wisconsin. She was complaining about the snow and
I
the
know,
clouds
yeah.
and the rain. And
all the foliage, all the trees coming out of the Blue Mountains, they look terribly dry.
well, deciduous trees are all losing their leaves.
Do we have many deciduous trees in Australia?
There's a few. The gum trees are all losing their bark because of Australia.
Reason why it would be very difficult for me to drive is because my eyes are so sensitive to light, even with sunglasses. Rocks Creek again, it must double around.
It does, yeah. Not timed that well.
Oh no, is this that same truck that Stripes and I got stuck behind?
Possibly.
Let's have a look. No, different shape. Like that idiot that we got stuck behind on the way to Genolan Caves.
Ah, yes.
Was the Lexus in sport mode then?
Yes.
I thought so.
But just everything seems to be a bit too much for its poor little engine.
What kind of engine does it have?
I think it's an 1800cc.
Right. 6-cylinder?
Four. Running through a constant velocity gearbox. So you don't get that automatic transmission bump that you normally get.
It's all about surveying, must be.
Yeah. We're about to hit the roadworks up here somewhere.
Have you been following Freefall?
Oh yeah.
I haven't checked out today's today's episode yet, actually.
Well, I haven't looked at anything today.
Because they're stuck where they are now. They can't leave without a working reactor, without 2 working reactors. Oh, did you text me? I'm at the railway. Okay. I didn't hear it beep.
Yeah, they've got their own ship reactor.
The Savage Chicken class, it has 2 reactors, but only one of them's working.
Yeah.
And they're not allowed to fly deep space, pardon me, without 2 working reactors. Let's have a look. I was intrigued the minute that Florence opened up the reactor compartment and sparkles of something, which turned out to be water. Sparkles came out, and she said something that this pretty should not give me such a bad feeling. We go free fall. Oh god, it's wall of text. Wait a minute, no, this is. Oh, what am I doing? I'm so stupid. Today's not Friday. Today's Thursday.
Yeah.
Right. So we're still on the episode where she wants to go and scream in her pillow.
Yes. I think the engineers in Chernobyl are thinking about doing that.
Doing what?
Screaming into their pillows.
Oh.
There's something going on in the area that you can't get to that's causing a spike in neutrons.
Oh dear.
Now, a spike in neutrons indicates a reactor reaction starting.
Given the mangled state of that reactor was left in, and the fact that it still has a lot of fissionable material in there, that's serious.
There's a bloke named Guy Martin did a great series about that sort of, he was in Russia and he went to Chernobyl, and he actually got into the area where you can film a bit of it. They had 30 seconds to get in there and out.
Yeah, I can imagine. Which is less than the 90 seconds that was given to the
cleanup.
That's
crews.
right, yeah.
And this is after all that time, and with all sorts of shielding behind it.
Oh, it could be 10,000 years, and I'd still feel the same way about it.
In that 30 seconds that they were there filming, they got most of their recommended yearly dosage of radiation.
Oh yeah, easily.
In fact, it's so hot, the camera was sparking, playing up. There's little pixels in the digital camera were popping on and off because of the radiation hitting it.
Well, it's ionising radiation. It has the ability to flick electrons. It collides with electrons, so it has the ability to flick electrons ahead of itself.
Yep.
It's nasty.
So yeah, I imagine the engineers at Chernobyl go home after monitoring a spike in neutrons and laying on their bed and having a scream into their pillow.
What? I'm no expert, but my best suggestion is that they need to build, for lack of a better word, they need to build robots, but not with complicated electric circuitry. They need to build very simple machines capable of performing work inside the reactor, but they must have only the most basic circuitry that can withstand the radiation, because they're going to have to get in there and clean out all the trouble eventually.
Maybe they need to build robots with valves instead of...
Yes, yeah. Well, I was thinking about things like that. Yes, just something especially durable that won't be shut down by the radiation. Valves may end up being the way to go.
Well, every single robot they sent in there died in seconds.
Yes.
race begins.
Every single robot that's sitting there has died. Does that mean that the hallways are full of dead robots?
Yes. At some distant time in the future, when the robots take over, they're going to walk in there and go, what?
What the hell happened here? Overtaking lane 5 kilometres ahead.
That's useless.
Poplar trees?
Oh yeah.
What are they doing out here?
That makes good
Matchsticks, I know.
matchstick
Yeah.
wood, pulpwood skewers. They're also faster growing than natives.
Well, it's a softwood, so yeah, it's
Yeah.
faster growing. I love that suggestion you had that 20 years ago we should have been planting eucalypts because they'd be ready for harvesting by now.
Yeah.
Why is nobody doing that now so that they can be harvested in 2041?
What do you think? 20 years ago was the year 2000.
That's right.
Not that long ago.
I feel very, what's the word? I feel old whenever I see people referencing things that to me do not seem like that long ago. Five Nights at Freddy's, the restaurant where the children, there's the what do you call it? The animatronic costumes were supposedly cursed by the souls of the children who were abducted. This was supposed to have taken place in 1987, and I'm thinking, oh,
Yeah.
1987, was that really that long ago? Yeah, and there was an episode of Sam and Max where I saw a sign on a supposedly old building, and it was the date on it was the 1990s. Were these things really that long ago?
One of the Facebook memes that went round showed the startup screen for Windows XP. So I said, who remembers this?
I do.
So XP, good grief, I remember 95, 98.
XP was probably my favourite Windows operating system. It ran much more efficiently.
It was incredibly stable.
Yes, it was stable, and above all, and this is the problem I've had with every version of Windows since, you didn't get it losing focus on applications. With modern Windows, you've got to be so careful because it'll deselect an application abruptly. I hate that. Maybe Microsoft looked at XP and decided, nah, not enough bugs.
All the replacements for XP that came out, everyone hated them so much, Microsoft had to extend XP. I think Windows 10 is the first good one to come out since.
Forget what I'm running on Harold. Harold's the name I've given to that computer. Speaking of which, I've usually brought a computer with me each time I've visited.
Yeah.
I have again this time. It's just not quite as portable as before.
No. So what's wrong with it?
There's both a software and a hardware fault. Software-wise, every cold boot, it does not recognise the second hard drive. You've got to reboot and then it works again. But even though it's now recognising the hard drive, it's not recognising the Blu-ray drive during either the first or second boot up.
Right.
So that needs attention. The other problem is that problem with the fans. They're making, on random occasions, especially on very warm days, They're making a horrible ticking noise like a film projector. Now, what's his name? Bernard or Brendan?
Brendan.
Yeah, Brendan. Brendan believes it's dust that's got into the fans, which is quite likely because there's an awful lot of dust around my place.
Oh, the ticking noise sounds more like a little bit of plastic or something just dangling in there.
Could be that too. I'll make sure he checks that because he's talking about replacing the fans. But I've noticed that the ticking sound tends to shift from one fan to another, so I'm not entirely convinced that it is one specific fan.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've not had a single thing wrong with mine.
Oh, your place probably doesn't have as much dust.
No, don't,
Yeah.
don't believe that. There's a lot of dust in Dubbo.
Would that be from the mining or?
No, just from dust.
Dust, right? Yeah. Because at the moment it's especially bad in my place. I've always had the railway to the east, the highway to the west, and there's light industry to the southwest, including a cement works. But right at the moment, we've got the metro construction directly to the north. So that's
yes.
yeah, there's a lot of dust coming out of that. Rough surface. How old is the Lexus? It's more than 10 years old, isn't it?
It's a 2011 model.
2011 one. Still smells nice and clean.
I've looked after it.
Quite evidently so.
Well, you wouldn't want to smell it after I've had a night on curries.
Depends whether that's that's breath, or whether it's coming from the opposite end of the elementary
It's
canal.
not breath.
Right. No, I probably wouldn't want to. I was before you said that, I was about to quote Tom Holland in Infinity War. Mr. Stark, it smells like a new car in here.
Yes. Every time I take it in for a service, Lexus give it a good going over. Okay, fire. Why is there a fire there? That's not good. Yeah, Lexus give it a good clean up inside and out. Sometimes they leave me a little chocky. You get the you get the latest Lexus catalogue and a little bottle of water labelled Lexus and a little box of Macintosh toffees. Done up in a little ribbon bow, and that's nice.
Dog.
I mean,
How old was Ruff when he died?
He wasn't that old. He was only
No,
about,
he wasn't.
He was
Yeah.
only about 5 or 6. He wasn't that old at all.
What did he die of?
He had a major back problem. He became paralysed in his lower half, his back half, and was in constant pain. There was no stopping the pain.
I know. When it gets to that stage, it's
Yeah, you just can't do
that's
anything.
right.
It must have been a long-term thing, because before he was in trouble, he would limp. If he ran to you, he'd limp. You know, he just would run on 3 legs. One of his legs would be up in the air, and then you think maybe it was just a constant thing with him, and then whatever happened one day, it just
Became what's the word? Past the point of no return.
yeah, basically, yeah. It's very sad.
So is that kangaroo. That's the second dead one I've seen.
Oh yeah.
I was telling Stripes on the way here. I had a brainwave. Why are we putting so much technology into designing cars that can be better at avoiding the wild animals? Why don't we just re-engineer the wild animals to be smarter?
The trouble is when you're dealing with wild animals like emus, there is no smarter to start from.
No, that's right.
They're just dumb.
Yeah.
Emus, they're just a dumb bird.
I know. I remember what you said about the emu in Free Fall. The way it waited for Sam to take a bite of his food and then picked out another one of his what do you call it, tentacles. And you said that's out of character. That's too smart for an emu.
Yes. Oh yes. I thought that bird's smart. That can't be a real emu.
So Sam came up with ablative pancake armour.
They used to have emus wandering the zoo, but they become a pest.
What, Stanley Peddle's food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I lost half a pie. I had a pie holding it in my hand. I was about to take a bite. This head come over my shoulder.
Yeah.
Just went chunk chunk. There's a big chunk out of my pie. Bastard.
Yeah. You saw the photograph that old Wolf Chris DeSantis put up on Facebook. Was it? We are not responsible
Tesla.
for What's that?
Tesla. Model S just went past.
Oh right. We are not responsible
for the seagulls. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not responsible if the seagulls steal your food. The seagulls don't work for us. Sorry. Lucknow, strange name.
Old gold mining town.
That zirconia mine sounds so interesting. I hope to see it up and running.
I can't think of the name of the company. It's just a Dubbo company. They're owned by.
I'm glad to hear it's not Chinese.
They've the massive zirconia deposit on the edge of Dubbo. There's all these rare earths. They're developing a process to extract the rare earth elements that don't produce massively acidic pollution.
Which you don't want in Dubbo, no.
Well, you don't want it all anywhere, but that's the problem in China, which is right now producing nearly all the Earth's rare earths, all the world's rare earths.
And they don't care about pollution over there.
And there's areas that you can't go into because basically eat your shoes off. Massively polluted.
Sounds a bit like the concerns they had when they were building the Olympic Park over at Homebush, because
yes.
it used to be abattoirs and industry, and Rubbery Figures showed a couple of journalists interviewing I think he was an EPA inspector or something, and of course Rubbery Figures, so they exaggerated. He was surrounded by piles and piles of rubbish, and the journalist asked him, "Are you concerned that the chemicals in the ground may contaminate the athletes?" "Oh no, we're concerned that the chemicals in the athletes may contaminate the ground." And he's seen confiscating a packet of steroids and a pair of high performance sneakers.
I love that they had to turn the brick pits, the clay pits at the Olympic Park into ponds. They wanted to fill them in and turn them into facilities. The ponds were being used by an extremely rare frog. And the EPA stepped in and went, nope. Brick pits stay, clay pits stay, you've got to make them build around the frog.
It's like the screamer pillar out of The Simpsons.
Yes.
So there was an industry there, and then they filled with water, and then a rare frog came along.
The green and gold bell frog.
Oh, golly.
which is only found in the Sydney and Illawarra area, and habitat loss was killing them off.
How smart are frogs? Are they smarter or less smart than emus?
Oh, much smarter.
Much smarter than emus. Emus are that bad, are they?
Emus, they're just dumb. They're a dumb bird. And they always talk about, having a bird brain. Most birds are really smart. Not emus. Should we go through Orange or take the bypass?
Whichever is quickest way of getting there.
I think bypass.
Nice, yeah. Because sadly there's not enough time to stop off for the agrestic.
No.
We're in rough surface. We've been seeing that a lot.
Mainly advice for motorcycle riders. I'm gonna have to do this.
Yeah, that's alright. Kangaroos next 2 kilometres. Wouldn't it be easier just to put up a sign that shows you where there are no kangaroos? I was having a conversation with Stripes. Eventually people are going to want, well people already do, they want smarter pets. They want cats and dogs that are easier to potty train, that won't tear things apart, that will come when called and so forth. So one day people are going to start genetically engineering pets to have these qualities already bred into them.
Yeah.
And then once that technology is available, once it's out of the bottle, it's going to expand. It's going to be used on livestock to produce animals that have a higher meat yield, sheep with more wool, cows with more milk and all that sort of thing. And eventually when they have that technology, they may as well look into engineering wild animals to be smarter so they can stay out of the way of cars. And if the animals are smarter, if they avoid hazards, then they'll have a better survival rate.
In the book Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they come to the conclusion that it would be unethical to eat meat because the animal has no say in it. So they genetically engineered a creature that wanted to be eaten.
Peter Davison
Yes.
played the part of the character, yes. And Arthur Dent asked what's on the vegetable menu, and the vegetables were the same, and sentient, and so he asked for a glass of water.
There were so many jokes set up in the Hitchhiker's Guide movie that never played off with a punchline.
How do you mean never played
Well,
off?
if you've read the book and seen the television series, there's always a joke being set up, and then there'd be a punchline, like they're about to go into hyperspace. And Ford Prefect says it's a bit like being drunk. And Arthur says, "What's wrong with being drunk?"
Ask a
glass of water. Yeah, things like.
Yeah, that's the punchline. Yes.
That's the punchline. Well, they'd never get to the punchline. So in the movie, Arthur Dent lays down in front of the
bulldozer.
The bulldozer, and the bloke says, "Do you know what would happen if this bulldozer ran over you?"
I think he asked, "Do you know how much damage this bulldozer would suffer if it ran over you?" No, none at all. None at all.
But in the movie, that last line was not there. It was gone.
Oh, right.
So that they set up the punchline and nothing. That was it.
Why did they do that?
I don't know.
It was an American production, wasn't it?
It was written by Douglas Adams, then rewritten by a couple of other blokes, and then an American studio got hold of it, and
Yes.
I don't know what happened after that.
Yeah. Never ever allow Americans to get hold of British humour. They couldn't do Danger Mouse. They couldn't do what
Oh,
else?
they couldn't do Red Dwarf. Have you seen the Red Dwarf pilot?
No, I'm curious to see how bad it was. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it. What if it's on YouTube?
I think it is. They did an American version of The Young Ones.
I haven't heard about that. How did that go?
How do you think?
It's just as bad, yeah.
It's appalling. They called it Oh No Not Them.
Oh no, not them. They also attempted to do an American version of Dad's Army, which is just bad.
But why? The Americans never had a home guard, I don't think. Did they?
I don't know what the story was. I only saw a little snippet of it. It was my mother's given me some of her Dad's Army collection, and in the bonus material I found some samples of the American Dad's Army, and it was done to much the same stories as the British version, but of course they had American characters, they had American style humour, and yes, it was everything you'd expect. Pretty horrible. So even though I could recognise which episode it was from, every joke was falling flat.
I don't see the need to Americanise or redo a...
Oh, have you heard about the Idaho potato farmer?
No.
Right. Whenever you ask an American film director or producer why they have to Americanise things, they always quote the Idaho potato farmer. They say, imagine you're a potato farmer in Idaho and you've only known this style of humour, blah, blah, blah. In other words, they're reducing it to the lowest common denominator. They're making it so that the layman can understand it.
Yeah.
But they use that expression, the Idaho potato farmer.
We've done the same thing here. Made Australian versions of British shows, which were generally really bad.
Oh, Australians generally do terrible humour. Australians do great drama, but I've seen very few good Australian comedies. So what examples are we going to quote?
Are You Being Served?
Oh my goodness.
They made an Australian version of Are You Being Served? And
yes, it would have bombed.
Oh, it was appalling.
Any others?
Oh no, none that I can think of because I just didn't watch them.
The only Australian comedy that I have ever enjoyed was The Comedy Company. That was pretty good. And Let's Get Skase was half drama, half comedy, and it was pretty good. But just about every other Australian comedy, I think it would be torture to make a person watch it.
You get movies like The Dish, which was...
Oh, that was good. Yeah.
But it wasn't a laugh a second comedy.
No,
it wasn't
It was based on fact. Yes.
It wasn't a joke punchline type comedy.
Yeah, Australians can't do joke punchline type comedy. This car has a lovely sound to the motor.
Every time I take it for a service, Lexus tempt me with a new Lexus to drive around in while I'm...
And I love the videos you've done of that. Where did you get that sound effect that goes bing?
I just did a YouTube search for ting and another one for pop. Ting and pop.
Simple as that.
Yep.
So I really enjoyed those. And also bugger it. Beep beep. Your KSP video.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to the beep. For some reason there's a fraction of a second gap in there.
What video editing software do you use?
NCP Professional.
Oh, that's the same one that. That's what. What's his name? LK recommended to me.
Yeah. It's
capable.
It's capable. It doesn't have everything. If you want really good quality stuff, you want to get Sony Vega, but then you've got to be prepared to spend a couple $100.
Well, a couple of $100's not too bad.
But NCP, you can buy the full professional license for about $70.
Yeah. Well, at the moment I don't do enough editing to justify spending more money, but yeah, NCP worked out alright. I'll probably have to buy another license for Harold back there, but yeah, one of these days I'll get back onto it. Not that I did I did very little video editing actually. Parks, Forbes, Orange, Wellington, Dubbo.
But just one of those Kerbal Space Program videos takes a lot of editing.
Oh yes, I know.
There's breaks, there's sped up components, edits, fades, text.
People don't realise how much is involved in that kind of thing to actually do it. Yeah, every little splice, every little change requires an edit. So when are we going over to the Model Row exhibit? If you're dropping your father off at the shops...
drop him off, well, that'll be early in the morning and I'll pick him up an hour later.
Is that interesting?
That's interesting.
Oh, we did pass it after all.
No, we're driving past and not stopping.
Well, maybe on the way back.
No, I'm not stopping. Yeah, so we'll have sort of from lunchtime on.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah.
I mean, it's the Dubbo show. You don't want to spend hours there.
No, but I want this year. Finally, I want to be able to take GG1 in there and get. I'll ask them first because we asked a couple of years ago, but that was before COVID, so they probably forgot. Yeah. Go in there, say hi there. A couple of years ago, we asked for permission to do this. Maybe we do that now. Good. Get the suit on and get some photographs. Oh, when Stripes picked his mother up to take her over to the shops, hi, this is Sebastian, and he said, remember the red suit that's his?
Oh, okay.
So she knows all about it.
Oh, good.
Cattle.
Beefs.
Yeah.
Naughty beefs.
Yeah, I saw that. Some females will do that to other females. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's just a thing animals do. Their leaves. As we get lower down, you'll see autumn going in reverse. Having a look around for bits and pieces. You know the gold braid on GG's hat?
Yes.
We could replace that with a gold coloured brass chain.
As long as it looks authentic enough to be part of the uniform. What I'm planning on doing is just replacing the hat entirely. I'm going to try and find somebody who can do me a whole new hat.
Yeah.
Because the conductor's hat's basically on just about every railway line where they've had a fashionable style hat. It's got a peak on it, or at least it's got a raised part around the top.
Yeah.
So I want to find a maker who can do that, and once I've got that, then we'll get a new plate made up, and we'll try and make it a plate that looks that has stylized edging that looks
like the PPR.
Yes, yeah.
You might be able to, rather than make a hat, you might be able to find one. There's a surplus store. We'll go shopping.
Well, there's a surplus store
in Dubbo.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
It's actually camping and that sort of stuff, but they may have a. That's where I got my pith helmet from. So they may have an appropriate hat.
Well, I'd have to fashion holes out of it in the back for her ears.
Oh yeah. I need to go there and get a proper hat for all my hat pins.
Oh bother! I was going to tell Stripes about the trouble you had getting the unnatural slater through customs. Damn. I started to lead the conversation towards that, and then I lost track of it.
That was funny.
The guy actually asked you if it has been deactivated.
He said, "Has it been deactivated?" That was his question.
Oh God! Anyone could take a look at that thing and realise that it's not capable of inflicting harm.
Well, I mean, the thing is just so outlandish to look at to start with, but I had to tell him, it was it's basically a moving prop. Yeah, it was never active. I had to send him to the Wetter Weeks website.
Golly, it's hasn't been deactivated. I wonder what he was expecting it to do. There's actually a model of the unnatural selector in Team Fortress.
Yes.
But it's used by the pyro and it shoots flames. So apart from the design, there's nothing really remarkable about it. Are there any animations showing what the unnatural selector does?
Only some fake ads that Wetter did.
Well, that's the sort of thing I was keen on. Did they actually show what it looks like? Oh, I'd like to watch that.
When you read the advertising literature for, not for the unnatural, for the selected, for some of them, it says things like will vaporise 7/9 of an African elephant. I think 7/9.
7/9. That's typical British thinking. They use fractions.
Yeah. And what do you think of Jimmy Reese's imperial naming video?
Oh, I love that. Now, what would we call that? An inch. How much do you know about designing measurements? About as much as you, sir. Absolutely nothing.
That bloke, I don't know if you ever watched afternoon children's television. He played Jimmy Giggle with Giggle and Who.
No, I haven't seen that.
He spent his entire working life dressed in pyjamas and speaking in a high-pitched, happy voice.
No wonder he's doing it in that video.
Yeah, but he's a funny bugger.
Apparently apparently Chris Pratt, the guy who plays Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy, Tom Holland was talking about him in an interview, and he said he is actually funnier in person than he is playing Star-Lord.
Many of the funny lines out of Guardians of the Galaxy, he just ad-libbed.
I'm not surprised.
Dropping that silver.
Well, I was thinking about that just this morning. Because that was classified as an outtake, but I wonder if he actually improvised that.
Possible. The line about using a black light and it looking like a Jackson Pollock.
That was one of his?
That was one of his. He ad-libbed that.
Oh It is awesome when actors are allowed, when creative, talented actors are allowed to ad-lib, because it adds so much to it. There's been some great moments that were not in the script, like in, have you seen the DreamWorks animated movie Over the Hedge with,
a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, what's his name?
Bruce Willis?
That's it. Oh, that's the name I was trying to remember. Bruce Willis playing R.J. Raccoon and William Shatner playing the opossum. Well, the scene inside the house where the grouchy lady kicks the younger of the two opossums, and the opossum's playing dead, and she temporarily fools her father, and then he's pleased that she's learned how to do that. She says to him, "I learned from the best, Dad." And Shatner says, "That's my girl." He had lived that. He improvised that. Difficult it is for the Guardians of the Galaxy actors to perform their role with Rocket, because there's nothing there at the time they're actually doing it. It's just empty space.
Yeah.
The only other time I know of where anyone's had to do that was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
There was a lot of careful research done on how to do that.
In Roger Rabbit?
In Roger Rabbit,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I read about that, the thing that interested me most was Bob Hoskins said that he learned a lot of it from watching his daughter playing with her imaginary friends. And the actors were put through mime training and stuff like that. There's an especially interesting moment. Do you remember the bit in the film where Eddie Valiant is going to confront R.K. Maroon, and he and Eddie Valiant and Roger Rabbit are talking in the entranceway to R.K. Maroon's studios, and Roger leans up against the wall.
Yeah.
That almost ended up being footage that they couldn't use. What happened was Richard Williams, the animator, who was directing the drawings to superimpose over all the live action. One of his animators came up to him and said, "Richard, we've got a problem. Bob Hoskins here, he's looking at a 6-foot rabbit. He's not looking, Roger's only 3 feet, he's looking 6 foot high, so we've got a problem." And Williams thought for a moment and said, "Well, Roger's got long feet, so if he rises up on his feet against the wall, then Hoskins will be looking in the correct place." And they went in and animated it like that, and it worked so well that Williams, in one of his books, he said they even used it in the promotional trailers and nobody ever questioned it. Brilliant.
There's a video channel, YouTube channel called Cinema Sins, where they go through all the mistakes and the horrible things that happen in movies, and they point out mistakes and logical fallacies. And every so often they'll do everything wrong with, and they'll have an animated movie, and I'm thinking, it's animated. It doesn't count. And I know there's things wrong with it, but it's animated. If it was live action, then and there's something wrong, then that's fair game.
People still make mistakes in animated films. I've seen a few. I've seen bits of characters go missing. Just to give a very quick example, one of the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons, there was a character called Lupe, a female wolf, who appeared in 2 of the episodes, and there's a very brief moment where you see that her tail is missing. So they do commit sins like that occasionally.
Yeah. There's a moment in the movie Frozen where her hair passes through her arm.
Yes, I've heard about that.
You've got to be really sort of frame by frame searching for stuff like that to see it.
Oh, I
It
know.
happens so fast.
I can't imagine people doing that. There's one in Zootopia. It's the point where what's her name? Judy is working her hustle on Nick. She writes up a whole heap of figures in her book on his tax return, and then she flips a page over. But then the camera goes behind her, and the page is not flipped. So they definitely messed up there. And given that it's all computer animated, I'm surprised nobody spotted that. Strange looking cloud. It's like a big slice of ice cream.
Cumulonimbus.
More like cumulo-creamless.
It's also one of the Romans in Asterix.
Yes, yes. I love the names they give those characters.
Ceramics.
Ceramics. What's it with Christmas bonus?
Cacophonics.
Well, actually, that one's not as clever because they couldn't find an English word that would work with, because in the French version, cacophonics has a French word which means comprehensive insurance, but the joke did not translate well to English, so they had to make something out there. They called it cacophonics. That's the closest they could get.
And the fishmonger's called unhygienics.
Now that one works really well.
That was funny.
Unhygienics. And his wife's bacteria, which is just as good.
Yes.
I was thinking about one of the Asterix episodes just recently. What was I thinking about? Have you seen the live-action Asterix movie?
Oh, which one? I mean, the SBS World Movies often plays them. They've played Asterix and Cleopatra a couple of times, and Asterix and...
they made live-action movies of those as well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're French. They're
I know,
subtitled, but...
Yeah. I thought that was just the one. The one I was thinking of was the one which had the same actor who played the Russian general in the GoldenEye. Godfrey Johns, that's the actor's name. Yeah, he passed away now, sadly, but he played Caesar in the Asterix film, and he was perfect for the role. That's right, Detritus. He had a devious, manipulative Roman official named Detritus.
Yes,
that's a perfect name. Detritus, you're a devious little twit.
Thank you, sir.
I think he did say something like that.
In the Terry Pratchett Discworld books, the trolls are a silicon-based life form on this world, basically rock.
Yeah. Like
and they've got
like the Castrians in Doctor Who. Yeah.
They've got names. The one that joined the City Watch's named Detritus.
Perfect.
And there's others there. This is my son Gravel, and there's my wife Beryl. It's all mineral names, but they're really down there.
Gravel and Beryl.
And the local mobster's name is Chrysoprase.
I'm not familiar with that. What's that?
It's like agate.
Right.
But yeah.
Chrysoprase.
They live in the cold areas because the colder they are, the smarter they get. Silicon,
yeah.
Like the way computers work. No, it's very funny. Detritus the troll has a crossbow, but it's actually a siege crossbow, but he's so big he uses it as an ordinary crossbow. When he pulls it out to fire, everybody takes cover, even those behind him. And
Pratchett was so clever.
He was so good. There's been very few good adaptations of his stuff for television.
Unfortunately, with these things are only done by one person. Once that one person's passed away, there's just it's very rare that anyone can achieve it. Although some of the people who have been doing imitations of Bill Watterson's Calvin and Hobbes, some of them are pretty good. But yeah, most of the time.
Yeah.
But some people just can't emulate the work of a genius, and that's the case with Terry Pratchett.
You know, Bill Watterson did a couple of strips with Stephen Pastist.
Who's that?
Pearls Before Swine.
Not familiar with it.
In the cartoon strip Pearls Before Swine, there's a character there named Stefan who's a cartoonist. It's basically a sort of self-portrait of the Stephen Pastist. And this little girl from across the road says, I can draw better than that. And when she shows him the drawing, it's actually a drawing by Bill Watterson, who colluded with Stephen Pastist. And then they did a couple of comic strips. And it finished up with the cartoon Stefan saying, please draw my comic from now on. the little girl saying, no, it's a dying art. And that was it. I think it was 4 comic strips, ran for a week and it was Bill Watterson, and Stephen Pastist could barely contain himself. He wasn't allowed to tell anyone about this until after it happened.
Probably the same way if Jenna contributed to my webcomic. Oh God, that sun's giving me a headache. So I'm moving a little bit there. Let me guess, when we on the day that I return to Sydney, when we're heading out of Dubbo, that's going to be in front of us again, isn't it?
Depends what time we leave. Where are you heading to? So how are you getting home? Oh, yeah.
We're just basically doing the reverse of what we're doing now.
Okay, Stripes is okay with this?
Yes, yeah. He's been paid. Let me move that back now.
Flashing on that camera behind my head.
Yes, there certainly is.
Good. That's the B-roll.
The what?
The B-roll. A-roll, B-roll.
Why are they called A and B?
A-roll is your main film. The B-roll is the fill-in stuff.
Right. What's that?
Oh, that's the camera going flat or filling up. Someone was telling me about a science program years ago where they hooked electrodes up to a stingray, and it was actually able to power a small electric motor. and I jokingly asked, what happened when the stingray went flat? And they replied, stingrays are flat. Foy's Creek. I didn't even see a creek. Looks like most water courses out this way.
Yes.
It's just a dry ditch mostly.
Is water expensive in Dubbo?
Is what?
Is water expensive in Dubbo? Did you pay high?
No, it's not expensive.
Oh, good. 'Cause it's all artesian water, isn't it?
Not artesian, but it is from underground. Aquifers.
Aquifers, right. Do they need to run a purification process on it?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Well, you have to anyway, but they use some sort of a demineralling thing to get rid of a lot of the lime, but it's not 100%.
No, it would
So
be.
Dubbo water's quite hard compared to Sydney water. And it does taste quite strong of minerals if you're not ready for it.
You have taken a drink from the stream. Water tastes strongly of minerals, but is not unpleasant. It is
Yes.
extremely cold.
Yes.
Good old Cluster. I've always loved the taste of mineral water.
Well, that's Dubbo water, but it's not extremely cold. If in summer, even
Oh,
the cold,
I know.
the cold water is hot.
Yeah, it would be. So it's mostly lime around Dubbo?
Yeah.
Lime, right, okay.
Lime or calcite,
Yeah.
nearly the same thing.
Hepburn Springs near, was it Auburn in Victoria? What are these stupid birds doing? Yeah. They have several mineral springs, and bizarrely, each spring has a different mineral. I don't know how that is possible. Going from the highest point, because they're arranged sort of in a downstream fashion.
Yeah.
The one at the highest point in the slope is a magnesium spring, which tastes like aspirin, which it's not too bad. It's fairly pleasant. It's also got a nice carbonation. The next one down you would not want to drink from. It's a sulphur spring.
Ew.
Yes, and I'll tell you a funny story when I finish telling the springs. Further down from that, you've got an iron spring. My guess is that they must have put a bunch of pipes in and let them rust or something, so the iron is flowing out. And we collected several bottles of it. Several plastic soft drink bottles of it, and the red of the iron actually tainted the plastic, so you could see there was quite a visible amount of iron in it.
Yeah.
And the one right down the bottom is a lime spring, the same as what you get from Dubbo. So I don't know how it's possible for all four different minerals to be in such close proximity. I mean, they're about no more than about 500 metres apart. Actually, not even that. Probably close to about 100 metres apart. Now the sulphur spring, I nearly wet myself laughing when I saw this. It would have been back when I was in high school. My three siblings were there as well, and Hepburn Springs is down a little valley. The caravan park was up on the hills, so we were near the caravan park looking down at the valley, and a tourist bus pulled up and a bunch of tourists pulled out. And I'll tell you, this was like something out of a sitcom cliche. There was a man and a woman, presumably married, judging by the body language, and this poor little bloke was being bossed around and told off by this very large woman. Clearly opposites attract, and they were walking up to the sulphur springs, and she was blathering away at him, telling off, and he was just quietly standing there, drooping his head, not saying anything. And then he went to drink from the sulphur spring, and she very roughly pushed him out of the way, pumped away at the spring for a while, took a mouthful of water. The next thing, she ran off, mouthing away all sorts of aggressive sounding things in another language. But that was a perfect moment of karma.
Beautiful.
It was.
When I was in England, I went to Bath. They got mineral springs there, and
Yeah, I've seen Bath in documentaries.
they use the old Victorian period theory of if it tastes that bad, it's got to be good for you.
Yes, I remember that.
So there's a fountain, water fountain. As you're coming out, there's a fountain there with little paper cups, and you can get a paper cup, get a
Yeah.
cup of water and taste it. And everyone goes, everyone, oh, that's horrible. I'm drinking it. And goes, that's like Dubbo water. so I had a second. I went for a second glass, and everyone looked at me like I had leprosy.
So it's strong in lime, is it?
It's very limey, sulphury.
It's like Dubbo water.
Yeah, it's just sort of like Dubbo water. It's not bad.
That is classic. If I could come back as any animal, I would definitely not come back as a bovine. I can't think of a more boring life, unless I was a sea cucumber or something.
Yeah, it's not something I've really considered.
Even sheep have more fun than cattle. And the funny thing is, Hindus believe that their spirit does go into the cow. Can't comprehend that.
There was quite a issue in northern India for a while. There's a group of people, the Untouchables. You know about the Untouchables?
No, I haven't.
Okay, they have a caste system, right? At the top you've got the Brahmin, which are the sort of religious caste, and then you've got the next one down, and the ones right at the very bottom of the Dalit, or Untouchables. They deal with all the crap, the stuff that that good people can't touch. You know, like dead animals and cleaning toilets and that sort of stuff. There was a bunch of them. When a cow dies, it has to be got rid of. But because India, cow,
It's sacred, yeah.
so the only people who can touch the dead animal are
The Untouchables.
the Untouchables, and the only way to get rid of a dead cow is to basically butcher it. You can't eat it because
That's right. Yeah.
but they have to butcher it. And there was a bunch of these guys doing that to a cow, and somebody walked past and said, "Hey, these blokes killed the cow," and
I think that
they were surrounded, and they were severely beaten.
Yeah,
I think one of them died, but they were severely beaten by the Hindis. So they went on strike. I said, if the cow is your mother, then you can deal with it.
perfect.
And it literally caused a stink. Because they decided not to touch any of the dead cattle that were laying around, and no one else would. Until they got some concessions that you're not going to get beaten up anymore.
As soon as you talked about them being surrounded, that's when it triggered a memory. And yes, I have heard that. It took me a while to remember. I wonder if that's what they were playing off in an episode of Deep Space Nine. Are you familiar with that series?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Some Bajoran prophet came through the wormhole. He'd been brought forward in time a couple of centuries, and he became irked at the fact that the Bajorans had abandoned their caste system.
Yeah.
They had different castes for different professions, and so in the episode, the Bajoran religious leaders reinstated the caste, and it caused all sorts of problems, and it came to a head when a member of a family who prepared the dead for burial tried to enter their worship area and was pushed over a balcony and fell to his death. So the Cisco stepped in and put a stop to it. But the caste system, birth caste systems are so anachronistic. They're a ridiculous idea.
You can't get out. Stuck. There was an episode of Babylon 5 dealt with something, not the caste system, but the unclean. There was a race of aliens, and there was this disease very much like a plague, But way back in the past, the people got sick and they were said to be evil or bad people. They got sick, and anyone who got sick was sent away to, because they were bad, they were sent away, and the disease died out. But then, you know, centuries passed. This is a spacefaring civilization.
Yeah.
The disease popped up again, and the prejudice was so great that instead of trying to help the people, they just basically sent them off, and it ended up wiping out this entire race of people because only the evil ones got sick and refused to believe it was a pathogen of some sort.
Because the stigma was still there.
Yeah.
And which season was this from?
Oh, I can't remember.
I came into Babylon 5 very, very late. It was long after Ambassador Sinclair was stationed on the space station. It was when what's his name? The actor's name is Bruce Boxleitner. Yeah, that's right. Sheridan, was that the character?
Yeah, Sheridan.
Yeah, it was after Sheridan was the commander of the station. So yeah, there was an awful lot I missed.
Oh wow, you missed a lot.
Yeah, which is a shame because what I did watch in Babylon 5 I really enjoyed.
Babylon 5 did not have a universal reset button at the end of each episode, like Star Trek.
A universal reset button?
When something that happened in today's episode will have consequences in future episodes. Whereas in Star Trek, each episode you can watch them in any order, and they're basically.
Oh right, they're more or less standalone.
Yes. At the end of the episode, there's a universal reset, so that whatever happened in that episode really doesn't have any consequences.
They had a little bit of continuity. There was some things carried over, but the majority of it.
But in Babylon 5, there were some things that happened in season 1. You didn't get a result until season 3.
Oh yes, yeah, I saw plenty of that. No, it was very, very well planned out.
Early use of computer graphics.
Oh yes, it was too, yes.
I mean, it looks really dated now, but when you think that this is mid-90s, we're in the Dubbo region.
I was talking to Stripes about the technology they used to create television graphics in the days before they had CGI.
Yeah.
There's a chap somewhere in the United States, he has the very last working one of these. It's entirely analog. It does not have any computer circuitry in it whatsoever, but it produces video graphics on the screens simply by what's the word? Just hardwiring, basically.
Yeah.
And I saw it on YouTube, and I didn't bookmark it, and I can't remember the name of the machine that was used. I've been trying to find it since because it was really fascinating. I'd always noticed that the graphics that were on television screens back in those days, the 70s and the 80s, looks very different to today's modern CGI.
Yes.
And I always wondered why, and that was when I finally found out the reason.
It's very much like the Hitchhiker book graphics used in the television series, Hitchhiker's Guide.
Well, that was very innovative. That
was coloured transparencies covered up by a black card. So as it scrolled, all they did was animate the card. They'd move the card.
Yes, yeah. They wanted something different from the traditional blue screen, because blue screen was a bit boring.
The old chroma key.
That's right, yes. Well,
the Goodies used that a lot.
Oh, did they? The Goodies, Doctor Who, and several others. It was used on, what do you call it, weather reports, all those kind of things. But for the Hitchhiker's Guide, they didn't want that because they said it was quite boring and limiting. So they showed how one of the first sequences where they were reading the screen off the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they actually did it by using a very small projector located on the floor, which projected the image up onto the screen that
that Ford was holding.
I think
Arthur was holding.
Yeah, it was Arthur holding at the time, which meant that he had to hold it perfectly still. It was incredible. And of course, all the animations in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, everything that was designed to look like computer animation was actually conventional 2D animation.
Yep. And the text scrolling was achieved by just moving a piece of black card, one letter across it and taking a frame.
Ironically, these days we have computer animation that can actually be made to look like anything. So there is, back in those days, if you said the words computer animation, that's what people thought of, wireframe. Nowadays you say computer animation, it can be anything at all.
My biggest argument against computer animation is that it's become so cheap that there are movies being released that should not be made. They are just the worst.
For example?
Oh, any of the Barbie movies that they were churned out like one every 3 months. There's quite a few of those Disney knockoffs.
Oh, what do they call those? Mockbusters.
Yeah, they're just horrible. They're so cheap. They're so badly made, and they're so easy to make. And that's the worst part. I think one of the most notorious ones is the rip-off of Up. It was called Up in the Air Balloon Rescue.
I think I've seen that in a YouTube video.
And it's horrible.
Yeah.
The North Koreans did some.
Yeah.
And again, they're just horrible. The character design's bad, the animation's bad, just everything. And because they're computer generated, they're so easy to make. Just want to get the people who made them and give them a good slap.
Well, it's North Korea, so you probably have to get in line.
Well, North Korea, they've got their own punishments. The people who made those movies are probably dead now. But
North Korea, that is a country that really needs to collapse. It's just the land of stupidity.
If there's no successor to Kim Jong-un, it'll just turn into like Burma with a military junta running it.
It's just we're right into dusk now. What time do the kangaroos start popping out?
It's too light yet.
Good.
If I go that and destination and go home and go. –
79 kilometres.
79 kilometres, 1 hour. It'll be less than an hour. That's estimated time is wrong.
Well, what time is it now? Oh, it's 5:10. Sunset's right about now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Dubbo's a little bit later than Sydney.
Dubbo is 15 minutes behind Sydney.
15 minutes behind Sydney. Okay, so it was roughly 10 minutes past 5 a couple of nights ago in Sydney.
Yeah.
So 15 minutes. Okay, that puts it at about roughly 5:25. So we've got a little bit of light left yet.
Yeah.
If you have to, I don't mind if we have to slow down a bit.
That's all right. No, we've got plenty of time. You were asking about the mouse plague.
Yes.
You mentioned the mouse plague.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you still catching mice?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you look at the road, see those little white spots
Whereabouts?
on the road, on the tar?
Oh, they're mice.
That's little tufts of fur left over from mice being run over.
Golly.
The foxes and crows are having a field day.
I could imagine.
The owls are starting to build up massive populations.
Oh, that's why I can hear an owl around near my place.
Yep.
course, when the mouse plague dies down, you've got all these hungry carnivores everywhere.
Yes. Now the foxes and crows don't mind because all the hungry carnivores start dying off. That gives them an extended period of food.
Or the foxes and crows eat the...
Oh, they're scavengers, they'll eat everything.
Right.
If it's made of meat, they'll eat it. You can see some burn-off smoke on the distance there.
I can still see dots everywhere.
Oh yeah, you'll see. The furry highway.
Furry highway.
It's not so bad in town. I'm still catching one or two mice a day. Now I can go a couple of days without it, and then the next day there'll be 2 or 3.
Are you still using the trap that you built with the 3D printer?
No.
Oh, pity.
I need to make a modification because I can still get out of the through the bars. I need to put in some mesh. It was a design from the 1840s.
Yes, I remember you telling me that. It's still quite clever.
And it works.
It works, yeah. You'll probably need, you'll definitely need something, strong mesh. Now, what kind of mesh is strong enough?
Bird mesh. The Avery mesh.
Avery mesh. Yes, that'll be it.
Or even fly screen. You get the stainless steel stuff they wouldn't be able to eat through it.
Fly screen comes in stainless steel?
You can get it, yeah.
Didn't know that.
It costs a fair bit.
Plenty of it here.
Yeah, look at spot. Keep in mind that this time tomorrow you'll have to start Sabbath.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So 5:15. So whatever we're doing tomorrow, we've got to be done.
Yeah. I'll need to hit because I've given all my cash to Stripes. I'll need to hit an ATM at some point so I can give you the money for my dinner tomorrow night.
Yep. Which branch?
Oh, I'm with the grader, but I think they've dropped the $2 ATM fee, haven't they?
I think they all have, yeah.
Yeah.
Decided they were making too much money.
Yes. Banks have fallen out of popularity with most people after the 2008 credit crisis.
Oh yes.
But people are no longer as tolerant of their greed. But really and honestly, it should have gone back a lot further than that. The stupid account keeping fees that some of the major banks were extorting on people, that should have brought them to control.
Oh, that was extortion.
It was, yeah.
The Commonwealth and Westpac people are a bit unhappy in Dubbo. Westpac has decided to close its branch and amalgamate it with the St George branch.
Which is not surprising because Westpac there.
Yeah, Westpac owns.
That's right, yeah.
And the Commonwealth Bank's decided to close the branch up at the Arana Mall. But when you look at that branch, it's a room with an ATM in it. It's not a branch at all. So people are hoping they'll just move the ATM to a accessible spot if they got to get rid of that room.
I recall you mentioned that crime is pretty bad in Dubbo, so do they get ATMs being vandalised?
No, certain areas are bad and some areas don't see it. Like where I live, we don't see it.
Good.
Crime. Well, we did for a short while. The next cul-de-sac over, a dealer moved in.
Oh no!
And for about 6 months, there was lots of break-ins, backyard invasions, that sort of stuff. But before the police could do anything, they moved out.
Good. The
worst part is, everyone knew they were there. the police knew they were there. The police cannot act without evidence.
Yeah.
They have to have evidence, and you've got to collect the evidence. And by the time they had the evidence and the warrant to move, it was too late. They'd moved.
W stand for Wellington.
Yep.
Is it still called Antarctica?
Not so much now.
Oh, good.
I mean, the drug problem's still there, but
Not as bad.
there are a couple of high-profile deaths, various murders and stabbings, and people realised that it was bad and started calming down a bit, trying to do something about it. The death that really shook people up was when a meth head in a car ran over a couple of kids and killed one 11-year-old, and that's when it sort of stopped being it's just drugs. But
Yes. That's when people stopped saying, how do they put it?
Yeah.
Drug users, the only harm is to the user. No.
yeah,
It's not that simple.
people started taking notice of how bad it was.
We should have woken up to it a lot sooner.
Oh, you bugger. You couldn't wait that 30 seconds, could you?
Well, thankfully we're not going to Chenallen Caves.
No. We'll use them as our kangaroo shield.
That's not a bad idea, actually. Problem with kangaroos is that they can jump between cars. So
Yeah.
It reduces our chance of hitting one that. What the sellers?
Yeah. It's a vineyard, or was a vineyard. The vines have gone now, but they still make their own.
Do you know the expression "a buttload of something"?
Yes.
Given your passion for alcohol, you probably know where that originates.
A butt is a quantity of alcoholic beverages.
That's right. Do you know where it comes from?
No.
The large oak barrels, and there is a standard size for an oak barrel that's used for fermenting alcohol.
Yeah.
They have two of those together. It looks like somebody's butt. So a buttload is two of them.
Right. When I was working for the railway at Mudgee, we used to get in firkins and kildikins of various beverages.
Firkins and kildikins.
Yeah.
I don't know how much.
A kildikin is basically what you call a keg.
Keg, right.
A firkin is half a kildikin. It was 8 or 9 pints in a firkin. 18 pints in a kildikin, and then the next one up you got hogsheads.
Golly.
Hogsheads, barrels, butts, tons.
There's no water coming out of that. Firkins, kildikins. again?
I think you got firkins, kilderkins, barrels,
Barrels, that's right.
butts.
Butts.
No, there's a hogshead in there.
Hogshead, that was it, yes. Hogshead was
Yeah.
somewhere
Hogshead, barrel, butt, ton, T-U-N. I know I've got the order wrong there somewhere.
we can look it up when we get there.
But it's logical. It's more logical than barley corns and inches. 3 barley corns is an inch.
Three barley corns is an inch, yes.
12 inches is a foot.
How many feet in a mile? What is it?
Oh, I don't know.
1,240 or something.
Yeah, yards.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right. You can.
Yards.
3 feet is a yard, and 1,240 is a mile or something.
It just none of it made sense.
No. Just completely random.
It must have come from somewhere. Something measurement brought that up. Actually, in French, the word for inch is deux pouces.
De pouce?
Deux pouces. Which translates to 2 thumbs. 2 thumbs.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. Is
2
that
thumbs wide.
2 thumbs wide? That makes sense. Right.
Deux pouces.
2 thumbs.
Yeah, Pete knows these French terms because he worked in New Caledonia for a short while.
Whereabouts is that?
It's one of the Pacific Islands, but it's French. It's not a Pacific island, it's French. That always made him laugh because Pete in French means fart.
Oh, are you kidding?
So, what's your name? Pete.
Pete. Oh dear. Well, I better not walk into the room and say hi, fart.
No.
So what is den in French?
I have no idea. No, Dennis in French is donné. Because there's a huge cathedral on the outskirts of Paris. It used to be on the outskirts of Paris. It's inside Paris now, but it's called Saint-Denis. Saint Denis.
Have you watched Tom Scott's video on the world's first telecom scheme?
Yes.
And the part where he says, I love how French names sound in English. Francois and Youssef. That's actually Frank and Jack.
Yeah.
Something like that. It was actually clever too how that scam worked.
Oh yeah.
They sent parcels with clothing, and the colour and make of the clothing gave them the clue as to what message to send.
It's an interesting sky.
It's pink.
It would have been made a good time lapse.
One of these days you'll have to camp out and get a good time lapse with the camera set up somewhere that you can capture the sky in that direction.
Well, that's what I do at home. I got a big ladder. I climb up onto the roof and set up the tripod on the roof.
But can you capture the sun in that direction?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, you can? Okay. Truck. Dalek truck. How does that go? There's a Dalek and a Dalek and a bloody lot of Daleks. Dalek truck. The doctor's going to kill us. The earth is out of luck. Unless this girl can save the world with a yellow truck. With its headlights on in the middle of the cemetery. What's going on there?
Suddenly, Wellington.
Railroad Australia, where I think it was season 2, where they had that gargantuan train going out from Fletcher's International.
Yeah.
And the narrator was saying that the train is now approaching the small township of Wellington. The train is longer than the town.
I think he exaggerated, I think.
Well, it was a very big train. They'd had it was 2016 and they had a bumper harvest that year. And to make matters worse, one of their locomotives, the Pamela Gay, had needed to go down to Newcastle for work to be done on it. And they got it back just when they'd finished loading all of the loading all the produce into the containers, and then they had to load the containers on the train. So basically, it was all being done in one train. It was a very big train. They were concerned that the 3 locomotives up front and the 2 helper locomotives at the back, even that would not be enough to get it over the Blue Mountains.
According to my brother Robbie, who used to drive trains around here, the run from Orange to Bathurst has steeper grades than from Lithgow to Sydney.
Orange to Bathurst. Whereabouts is it steep there? Orange to Bathurst.
They got to Mullabank. Oh, there's an awesome video of the Flying Scotsman coming up to Mullabank with 3801 attached.
Yes, I remember you telling me that. I'll have to watch this one of these days.
It's a fantastic video. Really, what I like the most about it is
that
my Uncle Brian is the
yes.
driver of the Flying Scotsman. He drove from Bathurst to Orange, and then the Orange crew took over from Orange to Dubbo.
If I can get hold of one of the drinks. No chance.
You can have some of my water if you want to.
No, it's alright.
If you don't mind necking my bottle.
I'm slightly thirsty, but what's really going on is that my blood sugar is right down. I need something to poop myself up. And annoyingly, I have several lovely bottles of Bundabergs in that little bag back there.
Ginger beer?
No ginger beer, but I have 4 bottles of lemon, lime and bitters, 3 bottles of sarsaparilla, and you can have the remaining bottle of creaming soda, which is Bundaberg creaming soda, so it is especially good.
Okay, the glowworms are out.
Where?
There, looking in his truck.
Oh, that's the name for the
high-vis guys.
High-vis guys, glowworms. I thought you meant actual glowworms.
No, no tunnels around here.
Yeah, apparently there's a tunnel, the Helensburgh on the.
Yeah.
Is that the Illawarra line?
Yeah, the old Illawarra line.
It's the old Illawarra line. That's right. Yeah. And the railway tunnel that fallen into disuse a long time ago, it is now filled with glowworms. It must be incredible.
And the all the old tunnels in Nunes get down into the Walgan Valley are all full of glowworms.
What attracts the glowworms to the tunnels?
It's dark and humid.
That's all they need?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and a bit of water nearby.
Yeah. 1730.
In the wild, they'd be in caves.
Oh, that's pretty. Yeah. Where's this truck going? Good, it's going straight ahead. Cow and Calf.
Yep, the old clubhouse hotel. It was pretty crap then. Yeah, it's not so good now.
In World of Warcraft, in Old Town of Stormwind, there's a pub called the Pig and Whistle. I don't get that. Pig and Whistle? Doesn't make much sense to me. If it was Dog and Whistle, maybe. What's that sound? What is that? Is it that bus?
It might be the bus.
Strangest noise of it. I thought it was a locomotive at first, but then I realised it was staying with us. So.
Yeah. I'll know if it's a loco in a second. If we look to our right,
Nothing.
not a loco. No, I think it's the engine from that bus.
Doesn't sound healthy.
No. Ooh, he's turning right. No, don't go down that road at this time of night.
Why? Where's that road go?
Oh, that's Kangaroo Alley, that road.
Kangaroo Alley?
Oh, yeah. I hope you've got good lights, mate. Unless he's going to work at the jail.
Yes, I think that would be the answer to a lot of problems. Cars are expensive to build. Why not just engineer smarter kangaroos?
Volvo tried to engineer a smarter car. They designed a car that had livestock avoidance radar. That recognised mooses and that sort of thing. And then they brought it to Australia, and couldn't handle kangaroos.
Kangaroos are like tetrad particles. They have a random momentum.
So they fitted this Volvo with sensors and drove it around Canberra for months, trying to detect kangaroos, trying to find out what it was about kangaroos that confused the systems. I don't know if they fixed it or not.
I doubt it. Kangaroos are just so flighty.
I can just imagine somebody in Sweden getting their new Volvo saying it also avoids kangaroos. What?
Nope.
What?
Were you doing a Swedish accent then?
No.
Oh, that sounded like it.
There's a lot of wallabies in England.
That's right, because a bunch of them escaped.
They escaped and found out that England is very much like southern Victoria and Tasmania, so they said, well, we'll stay here. Yeah, they got out of zoos and safari parks and places like that.
Oh my
Just
goodness.
established themselves.
Well, it's revenge for them giving us foxes. Although I think they still got the better end of the deal.
I think so, yeah.
out here, eastern greys?
Eastern greys, wallaroos,
Wallaroos, yeah.
yellow-tailed wallabies,
Oh.
redneck wallabies, and swamp wallabies.
So not much different from around where I live.
No,
Apart from the yellow-tailed wallabies.
yellow-tailed or yellow-footed?
Probably,
Yellow-tailed.
probably yellow-footed. I've heard of the yellow-footed rock wallaby, but I've never heard of the yellow-tailed.
We don't get the rock wallabies here.
Right, so it must be. I've never heard of a yellow-tailed wallaby. That's interesting.
And they're so cute. Swamp wallabies, they're really cute. They're
Oh, they are.
And they're total bastards.
Why?
They're just horrible. You try to rescue one and you just end up fighting it. Like kangaroo, you can tackle them down and they'll struggle a bit, but swamp wallabies will fight. I don't know what's happening here, but there's lots of work being done on our track.
Well, isn't this going to become part of the new inland rail route?
That's Parks. That's going through that west
right.
of here.
But
Sleepers.
yeah, Dubbo's getting a major maintenance workshop here.
It's getting the XPT workshop. I wish it wasn't XPTs. I wish it was new.
The new international fleet.
I just wish it was something newer than 1987.
Well, it probably will be. I mean, the XPT is going to be phased out eventually.
It has to be, yeah.
So it probably will be the new class.
But the English train that the XPT is based on,
The HST 125.
yeah, they were phased out years ago. I find it frustrating that we've got a single line, unelectrified line.
Well, unfortunately, the line between Newcastle and Maitland, which I used to travel on quite regularly, it's double track, but it's not electrified.
Yeah.
I can't see them ever electrifying it all the way out here.
The other frustrating thing is we get one train a day.
That is very frustrating.
The XPT, one train a day.
There should be at least two.
And they say, well, there's not much call for it. Well, nobody uses it. Well, if there's only one train a day, it leaves Dubbo at midday. If you want to get to Sydney,
Yeah.
see, they run that, what is it, the Explorer or the Endeavour up to Bathurst.
The Bathurst Bullet, yes, it's a Endeavour.
Yeah. If you ran a similar thing from Dubbo to Bathurst to meet the one from Sydney to meet,
Yeah.
then it would be worth it. People would use the trains.
Now, is that thing still making that noise?
Yep.
It's hard to tell because of the road surface, but I think it is.
There's a lot more wind as well.
Yeah. Oh, I can hear it now, yes.
Yeah.
Now that I know what to listen for. That is a very noisy bus.
I was thinking of overtaking him, but when
No,
look at the number of trucks in front.
Not only will he act as a kangaroo buffer, that noise will probably drive the kangaroos away.
Yeah.
I'm quite content to stay behind. I'd rather get there safely without any issues. My idiot brother had to spend a lot of money recently having his truck repaired after a collision with a kangaroo.
Ooh.
Yeah, but Christopher drives very recklessly. He's a lead foot. bad. That bus is doing a decent speed. I don't
Yes,
mind.
yeah.
Yeah, don't mind staying behind.
It's not doing 110, but it's a decent speed.
We got Dubbo 35. That's not too far.
No, 32 to home. I think Dad's doing a pumpkin soup for you.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah, we're having a leftover pea and ham, but I said, oh, it's got ham, you can't stuff it.
Yeah, that's right.
I said, oh, I don't know what I can do. I said,
Pumpkin.
you've got pumpkins, make a pumpkin soup. Because knowing Dad, he's making soup for one, so he's going to make about 10 litres of it.
Well, that's all right. I eat enough for 2 people. Just had a surprise on Stripes when I finished those scallops.
Yeah,
Those were very nice scallops.
he really took his time. That sausage roll was okay. It wasn't a village hot baked sausage roll.
No.
so,
It was a, what do you call it? A commercially
Yeah.
produced one. Yeah.
Factory roll.
Factory roll. That's what I was after. Yeah.
It was okay.
When you're hungry, anything's fine.
Yeah. Look at that sky.
How frequently do you set up your time lapses?
Well, what appears on YouTube about once a month, but what I could do, on days like this, I could do one every night. I just don't have many subscribers. Cloud time lapses aren't very popular. Who knew?
The thing about uploading the videos to YouTube is that you don't do it to become popular. You do it because you enjoy it. It doesn't really matter how many people watch it.
What really surprised me, I've got 80 subscribers. I have no idea why. For the longest time I had 37. And then over the last month or so, I've got 80.
Over the last month?
Couple of months, yeah.
Interesting.
Just sort of out of nowhere, somebody...
Probably passed on by word of mouth or something.
No, it's an algorithmus of YouTube.
Algorithms.
I noticed some of my very old bat videos got a lot of sudden traffic. Just out of nowhere, people commenting from nowhere, bat videos from 8 years ago.
Sometimes it can take a while for a video to get noticed.
Just for some reason the YouTube algorithm just found some of my random videos and presented it to people. All hail Saint algorithms.
I love how it's called YouTube. How many people these days would understand the relevance of the word tube?
Yeah.
What are a lot of things that have gone out of fashion?
Hello, Dennis speaking. Hello.
How you doing there, Dan?
All right.
Hi, Marty.
Hello, Stephen. How you going, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you?
Where are you fellas now?
We're just coming into Geary.
Geary.
All right. Okay. How far did you have to go down, Ben?
Bathurst.
Oh, I see. After your trip. Okay. All right. You're there gear in there. What time is it? I don't know.
It's quarter to 6.
Quarter to 6. Oh, you'll be half hour. You'll be here.
Yeah.
You want to come here first and have the...
No, we'll go to my place first, and Stefan can unload all his gear, and then we'll come round.
All right. Don't wait around there too long. We'll have dinner.
Yeah.
Okay, see you when you come.
What have we got for dinner?
Pumpkin soup.
Soup with all veggies in it, and a bit of pretend meat from Woolies.
Pretend meat?
You know, that pretend meat, yeah. Done for for vegetarians.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what that means? What that is? You was telling me they had it there, so I went and had a look.
Yeah, I know the one. Yeah, I'll show Stefan one day. Yeah.
Okay, but we'll see you when you get there, right?
Yeah, righto.
It tastes pretty good.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Alrighty.
See you when you come.
Yeah, righto. See ya.
Ta-da.
Woolworths have a rack of plant-based meat substitutes.
Here in Dubbo. That's quite surprising.
Dubbo, which is the Meaty McMeatface capital of Australia.
Right. Meaty McMeatface.
And there's a shelf of
vegetarian products.
Vegetarian products.
Maybe it's for people who are on a diet because of cancer or something.
It's only really small. It's sort of very much like that. Oh, I suppose we should do this.
Yes. That's probably how they felt.
What did disappoint me though, they took away their international selection, so I can't get Marmite anymore.
Marmite or Our Mate?
Yeah, Our Mate.
Yeah.
The proper Marmite. The stuff on the shelf labelled Marmite is made in New Zealand by Sanitarium.
Look.
It's not Marmite. It's just a sort of imitation Vegemite. But the Our Mate is the actual English Marmite.
Oh God, I'm tired.
Yeah, you've had a long day. How long have you been on the road?
We left at what do you call it? 10 minutes past. Sorry, other way around. We left my place at 5 minutes past 10. So yeah, been doing a lot of travelling.
Yeah. We spent must have been a good 40 minutes at Bathurst.
Oh, not quite that long.
Long enough to eat a couple of scallops on a sausage roll.
Stripes was very surprised at how quickly I wolfed that down. You know that English wildlife channel, Wildlife Aid.
Yeah.
They had a new one recently, orphaned fox cub. Yeah, that they realised that there were no adult foxes around, no other fox kits, so he obviously becomes stuck there on his own. They couldn't return him to the wild, so they had to take him in and get him healthy and then take him to a soft release site.
Yeah.
They at first they couldn't get him to eat, but eventually after he settled in it and felt more comfortable, that they gave him a meal which he wolfed down. I couldn't resist replying to that. I quoted it, gave him a meal which he wolfed down, and I right after that, I didn't know a fox could wolf. No one's replied yet. But I suppose you can't really say he foxed it down.
Yeah, you could fox the edges, but not the whole thing.
You could fox the edges.
Have you heard that term?
To fox something, yes, I have.
With old maps and things, if the edges are a bit...
They're called foxed, yes.
Foxed, yeah.
As soon as you said fox the edges, I caught onto that. It's quite clever.
I've got to get my old map of New South Wales down to the picture framing people because they want to see it.
Where are they?
And they're in the centre of Dubbo.
Right.
They want to put a UV panel in there instead, a UV reflecting panel to protect it. It's an original 1862 map of
Whoa!
New South Wales and Queensland. Now it shows New South Wales and Queensland, but there's no border because the border wasn't established until 1865.
Wow.
It's got Dubbo.
You definitely want to preserve that. So what do they do with the UV light?
It protects the paper from exposure to UV light. It's a glass that reflects UV.
Oh right, they want to put it underneath the glass. I thought they were going to focus the UV light on the.
No. That would destroy it.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
No, it's a special glass. I've got plain glass on the front, but they asked me to replace it because to preserve the map. Not so much through as past.
There was an old episode of the Get Smart series where they were on board a train that I guess was in imitation of the Orient Express, and the train pulled into some little European country, and the conductor came into the compartment. Passports, please. Stamp, 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 stamp. Goes out. The train drives on for a couple of seconds. Then he comes back in. Passports, please. Stamp, 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 stamp. What was the delay? Floods. They had to evacuate the country.
I love that episode of The Goodies in Wales.
Oh yes, with John Pertwee. Yes.
Yeah, but they get on the train at the start of
Yeah. And then they get off the other end.
Yeah. I could have overtaken.
No, let this truck be our barricade. Let this bus be a barricade against kangaroos.
I'm not going to overtake, mate. Come on, change lanes.
How far are we now? 40 kilometres. That's not far.
14.
Yeah. Did you see that video I posted on Facebook a few months ago about the halfwit in he was driving a Pulsar, I think it was, overtook a truck on the shoulder, so he was driving on the dirt for a few yards, sped past, lost control, nearly had a head-on with another vehicle, and then crashed into a fence. Well, I read.
Yeah. Oh yes, I saw that.
I read the comments underneath the video. And one of them had a little bit of dialogue. Police to driver. How do you feel about speeding past? How do you feel about speeding past trucks now, driver? I don't know. I'm on the fence with that one. Some clever people out there.
gripes all about those scallops at Miles Street. I better buy some to make sure they're still pretty good.
It's always that way, isn't it?
Yeah. If you want pies, I will always say Village Hot Mate. Always.
Have you heard about the furore in the furry community about Pepe Le Pew being dropped from the Space Jam movie?
Yes. Yes, I have heard that. Okay, that was I mean, Pepe Le Pew was always a little problematic, but
Well,
he's a cartoon character.
it's become controversial now. If you Google rape culture skunk, he comes up.
Oh dear. But people seem to forget at the end of every one of those cartoons
that's right.
the tables were turned.
Exactly, Penelope chases him.
He ends up trying to get away from the cat.
Still following Sabrina online?
No, I haven't read that one for a long time.
There was several months back now an episode where Zigzag wanted a skunk's day out, so she invited Sabrina's parents, and several of the skunks from the studio to go out to an amusement park. And Sheila the Red Vixen wanted to come along too, but Zigzag said no. I've got a theme going here. It's just skunks only. They arrived there, and Sheila turned up. She'd done the Pepe Le Pew thing. She'd dyed her fur black with a white stripe going down her back.
Okay.
Yeah, and Zigzag very begrudgingly let her in, and as they're going in, what's her name? Sheila said, "Just one question. What do I do about this?" And she lifts her leg up, and Pepe Le Pew stuck to it.
Oh dear.
Yes, indeed. Where is it?
Shut up. I noticed we've got Venus on the horizon there.
Whereabouts?
Straight in front. If you look to your left, you will see a brewery.
Is that the Devil's Elbow?
That's it.
I'm looking forward to that.
Right there.
You've got 6 degrees of water restriction categories?
Yes. Level 6 is the lowest.
We're on level 1 at the moment. Is that the highest?
Yeah, level 1 is as strict as it gets.
Oh, golly.
Level 1 is 15-minute showers.
Wow. Okay, I won't take
limited washing. No lawns.
I won't be taking a shower longer than 15 minutes then.
We're not in level 1 though, we're in level 6, so.
Oh.
Oh, hang on, which way does it go? No, it's still 1. Level 1 is the lowest.
That's what I thought, because it was marked on level 1 back there, I'm pretty sure.
Level 1 is the lowest though. Level 6 is the really tough one. Anyway,
most places I've known they've only got 3 levels of water restrictions.
Yeah. We're getting a bit close to home, so I think I'll stop the video here. I don't want
Yes, it's too close to home.
I don't want.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want everyone seeing the wreck I live in.
I don't mind people seeing the record. Oh, train! Oh, damn!
No,
it's a motorbike.
It's a motorbike, not a train.
Damn.
I got caught here just as a Fletcher's train was coming up. No, I just stopped the car, turned the engine off and waited.
Oh, of course you have to. Use up too much fuel waiting for a Fletcher's train.